Hey everybody, welcome to our pre-market analysis that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking here. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning once I'm done talking. Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happened over the course of the evening that are happening today. She'll also go through any of the ETFs, bigger picture items that are relevant to be looking at, as well as any of the commodities, etc., that she's looking at as well. Once that's done, I'm going to come on. We're going to be going through the individual names that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll go through the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, and also go through the SPY and the FANG from a technical standpoint and build an action plan for those names. After that's done, South Beach will come on, go through the macro environment, what he's looking at from any individual standpoint, as well as going through any analyst calls that make sense to be considering for today. After that's done, quick little recap of those individual names that I talked about, as well as the action plan once I type it up, and then we'll be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Beth, aka Mama's Options, and I'll talk to you guys in just shortly. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here at SpartanTrading.com. Welcome to our YouTube friends who are joining us with our live stream. This is what we do every day here. Pre-market makes us kind of special. All right, let's get to it. Obviously, the cost of homes, et cetera, and there was a lot of sweeps about that, but what really caught my attention, and Powell basically does what Powell does, was the API crude. We've now had back-to-back draws that I think have caught the market by surprise. We see crude is breaking out. We've discussed that. USO is breaking out. We've discussed that. And we'll look at the charts in just a sec. All right. Composite PMI worse in Japan. Shibuya Bank Services a little bit better, and the manufacturing PMI a little bit worse. Marquette Manufacturing Services PMI 64.9, better, which is really unusual, guys, because these tend to be really spot on. So the fact that they're better than expected is notable from the Germans. ECB, it's going to be really interesting. Don't forget, I mean, Europe's going to get that reopening bounce, and I think the market is not really well playing it that much, and that's why we're still in our Fez. I'll probably look to add some more to that, and we'll go over the charts with that in just a sec as well. Okay, we got our little Marquette Services PMI, yada, 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 and then we have our own EIA. Bostic is speaking. We know what Bullet had to say yesterday, this morning as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how things play out. And Bostic did say this morning that the timeline has changed in terms of the higher inflation numbers. The Fed was expecting from 2 to 3. Don't forget, he's out of the St. Louis Fed. So this is where the think tank is. Instead of 2 to 3 months, they're now looking at 6 to 9 months. Okay, we'll see how things play out on that one. All right, Fauci. This is going to be a big deal, guy. And the reason why it's going to be a big deal, this Delta variant, deals with the 12 to 19, 20-year-olds. This is where it's making its biggest inroads. And then if those family members, adults, siblings, whatever, are not vaccinated, this could be the next big deal in terms of the market as a whole, as well as the economy as a whole. Don't forget, I mean, if you sidelines parents and who have not been vaccinated, I don't know how this plays out, but this is the same thing that would happen when we had the UK alpha variant. So this will probably hit really in the fall, but it's something to think about. Okay, so Wall Street Journal had a really pretty cool article this morning about Amazon and other tech gobbling up renewable energy, which I think is pretty cool, and I think it's appropriate and important. And it just goes to show the commitment in the background for this and the need that we have here in the States to do more than what we're really doing right now. We talked about for solar, basically opening up their plant. 85% of solar panels are imported, not made domestically. All of this has to change. It really has to change. And we'll see. And we know that even from the energy side, companies are creating and buying entities that will put them into a greener position. All right, let's see what happened yesterday. Pretty green, right? XLK real estate was down and utilities was down. This whole thing with the bonds and stuff like that, well, the market is telling us that last week they threw the baby out with the bathwater. I still maintain that last Friday, Thursday, those were stops being run. And now we're at the Q's all-time high. I love the risk on value trade. I love FANG right now. And we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, what do we got? These are our ratings, price target, yada, 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 analysts and the drill. 70+% greater upside, 20% downside, and CBS is the only one that fits that category right now. Analyst has to be the top of his game, or her game. We do have, and we'll see how this plays out going forward. Okay, let's look at some digits here. S&P within 0.25% of 52-week high with less than 46% of its members above the 50-day average. 1 week out, going back to 1929, my friends. Statistically, the S&P will be up 1.8% going out the next week. And this is a trade for us. What I'll do is I'll probably put on a butterfly for next week that kind of wraps around that 2%, 1.8% level. And I'll post it for the room. This is what we like to do. We've been doing fairly well with our butterflies of late. Actually, we've been kicking ass with our butterflies. So that is something that I will be looking at. And this is what I do. I look at these data as, okay, well, how am I going to play this? But interestingly enough, this is the bugaboo. Going 1 year out, 100% back test probability that the S&P on average will be down 11.9%. But then I say to you, well, what about this quantitative easing? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. 3 months out, 6.4%, 100%. I don't know. It's just something for us to keep talking. So dumb money, Uzis and Musis, got out. Smart money did not. So we'll see how that plays out on the chase, as we like to say. Okay. Let's look at the Vance decline line. Looking pretty good right now, right? But as you can see, 6 months, this is what we want to look at, right? 100%, 12.21% return. That's what we want to see. So we got a lot of stuff going on right now. I still, for me, I want to be in individual tickers and I want to be in FANG. So I'm in XLC big time to represent Facebook, Google, right? I'm in Apple. Apple's the next one, and we'll talk and we'll go into a deep dive on that. The same analysis that I did and presented to you, why I wanted to be in Amazon, right? Before it started to do its thing. Why I wanted to be in Roku before it started to do its thing. These are the thought process that I go through in terms of looking at yearly sideways consolidation patterns, risk reward on the upside, the breakouts, and then the extension symmetry. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Another bullish narrative, guys. 6 months out on the S&P. 100%, 6.9%. Plunge in medium-term uptrends within a good environment. Well, what does this mean? Well, I have no idea. Still bullish though. So the Reader's Digest version of this story narrative is you gotta be in stocks. This is just the S&P. You gotta be in stocks. All right. So this is the S&P seasonality from this dude. He's okay, but I like to do my own stuff. And you can see here, we're basically in the consolidative sloppy choppy to the downside. And it's okay. I look at this and say, all right, fine, but let's take a peek at what we want to look at in terms of individual tickers. And that's really the gist of the story. The indices as a whole, I only look at in terms of hedging, but or doing a butterfly sort of thing in terms of weekly trades. For me, it's all about the individual tickers, and it just so happens on a short-term basis, we have the most, I think, the most brilliant technician out there in Spartan. For right now, I'm back to doing some of my longer dated stuff, and as well as combining that with what we see on the social media side and the sweep side. It's kind of fun. All right, heat map. Let's take a peek here. Some green, but not what you would expect, right? This is basically VXX, utilities. We got overseas some names: GDX, EZA, GLD, SLV. I still maintain that gold and silver can coexist in a world of Bitcoin. It can, and oil on the top side. Gotta, seriously, yeah. And your short-term optimism is at 70, right? I'm going to be doing a deep dive on natural gas, and I'm thinking about its time. I haven't gotten into this for in a long time, and I think it's time. TLT, wow, okay, QQQs, okay, XLK, but still not the dreaded deep red we don't like. All right, so let's take a peek here in terms of flows. It actually was very light, guys. Money coming out of financials. This is ridiculous. Financials 2 years out will be a lot higher, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking at XLF 2023s, and I don't care. SPY money came in too, but it's very, very, very light, the fund flows. Right? Okay. So let's take a look at our VXN. Once again, breaking below this 21 pivot. That's my pivot, But red flag, all-time highs, and we haven't gotten down here. And that's okay. We can have this divergence. I actually don't have a problem with it, but it is telling me that I did put on a little bit of VXX yesterday, just a little bit. I think this is the reality, and it's the same thing with the VIX. This is the reality we live in right now, and these divergence, and the market is telling us, okay, well, we want a little bit of hedge, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get to it. Let's get to the bond side. Okie yields are down, 2, 5, 10, 30, right? Canada up across the board, in Europe down, Japan down, Pacific Rim down. Let's take a look. This is the monthly. We're just in a massive range, guys. I would love to get it back down here, guys. Oh my goodness gracious. That's when I'm going to put aggressively on inverse TMV. That's what I'll probably do if we can get back down here. And we're kind of creeping back below. This has got a lot of people all messed up. No question about it. I mean, and this is why the bonds told us that what was going on with the reaction to the Fed made no sense with the equity market. It just made no sense. All right, let's take a look at the US 5-year. This is the big dog, still within this consolidation period, right? 1% down to 0.70. I do not see us, this is the monthly. I think we're going to be in this till September, this pattern right now. Don't forget the 5-year is the one that's mainly impacted if there is tapering, right? So that's the one we have to keep an eye on. All right, let's look at the 30-10. You can see here that the yield curve is flattening, right? Now it's starting to steepen back to where it used to be. So things are getting back to normal. 10-20, same thing. This is crazy, guys. This is like insanity, what happened here last week. I mean, literally insanity. Right. And here we go. Here's the 210. Same thing. Everything kind of come back to normal. This is the monthly. The reality still is where we are right now in the cycle, guys. If you don't understand yield curves, you got to learn it. I mean, steepening versus flattening, right? And inverting. Okay, these are big macro ideas that you have to understand, and it will make sense to you in terms of flows, money flows. Okay, all right, and this is why every single day we are looking at these things to see what's going on. So here you can see the 510 is coming back down after the crazy move we saw in it. Right? So all of the thing that happened in terms of the flattening of the yield curve, it's starting to steepen out a little bit. That's what this is. German 10-year. Okay, so it did have this spike. Now it's back down. It is holding up, which is good. This is the weekly. I want to see it close above last week's high. This is the reality also is that the ECB is just so heavy-handed in terms of their control, and the German government with the bonds and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. All right, German 10, US 10 coming back in. We like to see that. UK, this is the gilts, consolidated, still within this wide range, weekly, multi-month, 10s against the gilts. You can see that that also is reclaiming. Japanese, this is a different narrative. I just don't see interest rates going up anytime. This has been going on for decades in Japan, and I just don't see any change in that. And here's the Chinese. I said, okay, we're back in control here. They basically have been lowering interest rates. Okay, let's take a look real time here at indices. Oh, it's up a little bit. That's fine. Let's look at the DAX. DAX held up beautifully with that pullback, guys. Held a monthly extension. Fantastic. Fantastic. I love the European market right now. Here's the Ftse. It's reclaiming its pivot as well on the weekly. Very nice. Here is the EFA. So this is interesting. This is the global small caps, including the US. This actually held up fairly well. I'm actually getting really bullish, and I'm looking to add to my EFA position long-term. 2023, guys. Don't even bother anymore with anything less than 2023 if you're going to be looking at this sort of thing. Beautiful. Held this extension. Let's see if it can start to do it. I think it will. The market as a whole is telling me that, hey, everybody's taking a chill and starting to get back. This is the Ftse. This is a monthly extension that it held. I love this. I think we're going to go higher. And I'm looking to add into longer dated Ftse. Nikkei. I know. It's basically multi-month sideways consolidation. This is not where you want to be right now. Here's the Shanghai, same thing. Interestingly, I think we popped this top, but the EEM is more important when you're looking at that market, as well as the A shares is the most. And the A shares get you it's weighted heavily to the financials. And you can see we have a double top here. I'd love to see money rotating out of the A shares and getting into something like the K-Web. That's what I'd like to see happen, which was basically taken to the woodshed, as you can see. So this is an opportunity for us, but, and we're kind of mucking around here. 10-cent, right? BABA. Well, my largest exposure now is, I still have the FXI, and I've been accumulating that, but 10-cent Taiwan Semi is where I want to be right now. Right? Okay, and here you get the Nifty 50. Isn't this fantastic? This is the Indian market, and this is going to be the power of reopening. But things. I think this is actually a meaningful high on the Indian market on the Nifty 50. Just so you know, they're not out of the woods. It's just the fall is going to be horrible there. It's just not going to change. Okay. All right. Let's go quickly through the Forex here. As you can see, dollar all over the place. Let's take a look at the dollar. Guess what? Got rebuffed, right? At the 100 EMA and the monthly. And now we are falling back within this range that we've been in since December of last year. And this is a good thing. For me, I want the dollar to devalue. That's what I want to happen, but see how it plays out. I don't think we're going anywhere. You can see this massive flag formation. It's still a bear flag, right? And it's going to take a lot to get this out of that bear flag. All right, FANG, finally, right? Doing what it needs to do. Let's see what this looks like right here, though. Well, I'll put this back. We'll just fine tune that a little bit. Starting to break out. This is our W. We talked about this W a while ago, right? This is what I wanted to see. This was a few weeks ago. Next thing, 7109. We got to basically pierce that top mid of the W. I love my W's, just LOV them. Okay, Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Apple's the same scenario, guys, as Amazon. This has been a sideways consolidation, basically, for the better part of almost a year. All right, let's talk. Last time we had a breakout, it was sideways consolidation on Apple. It was in 2020, and it went up 75%, but not more than that. I'm looking for a $62 move. On the breakout, that basically gets us to 206. I have got across the board, and members know that this is, I've got all kinds of Apple spreads on. January 2023 is 195-200, March 2023, 195-200, June 2023, 195-200, in June 2023, 250s, 260s. But you see the theme here. I'm looking for a move to 200 by January 2023. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And I think it will go higher than that. So let's take a look. What if this happens? Apple against the SPY. It's creeping up here. I mean, we haven't really seen this. This is a monthly. Okay, we take it one step at a time. We break this monthly downtrend line. Next move up to 20 point. I think we're going to the top end here. So that would be a 14% move on Apple performance above the spot. So it would outperform by 14% the spot. That's what that means. And this is the same narrative I got us into Amazon with Roku, etc. All right, here we go. Apple XLK. A2 is starting to break these monthly extensions. Okay, these go all the way back to 2016. Right? See what happens there. If this does work out that way, and we still start to against the XLK, right? What do we got? If we start to move up here, that's a 4% outperformance, and this would be a 7% outperformance. Don't forget, on the other side is Microsoft. So let's look at Microsoft with XLK. Microsoft, fascinating. Okay, Microsoft's been on a tear. There's no question about it since January against Apple. Right? Now, guess what? It's breaking below this key pivot here. And let's say it's going to do a round tripper. And it's basically going to go to the bottom end of this range as a result of that. What would that get us? That would get us an outperformance of Apple against Microsoft, guys, of 14%. This is how you look at it. These spreads work over time. You can see they work. It's just fantastic. I'm very excited. Let's see if we get confirmation. You know, this is going to be an interesting one, but these are all monthly, so we have to be patient. So by next month, we will know what's going on, right? It's fun. That's how it looks. All right, let's take a look at commodities here. Gold's up, silver's up, platinum, everything's up except aluminum, soybean, cocoa. And once again, lumber is down, but who cares, right? So we talked about it yesterday, right? With the decline in the commodities, we won't see any of that tailwind until September, and then we probably won't even see the impact of the decline in lumber, etc. Okay. Welcome once again, those of you joining us pre-market. This is what we do. We have fun here. It's now time for me to pass it on to Spartan. Are you ready, sir?
Just about 30 seconds here, Beth.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Let's look at the CRB starting to reclaim its mojo. As you can see here, this is the Bloomberg, but let's take a peek at the big dog. Crude. I've been very passionate about crude. I've been pounding the table. This is a conviction trade. USO did what it needed to do. Okay. 48.16 was the first pivot, right? And then 49.46 was the second pivot. And right now we're at 49.99. Right? We've got a lot of room on the upside here. If you just look at the fibs, okay? So let's take a look here. Where can we go? So if we go here and we go back right here, so that's a 20% move in the USO, $9.80 on the USO. I know it's crazy, but that's what it says, right? Just saying. All right, let's take a look at gold, double top, double bottom in a range. I still love it. I'm accumulating 2023. That's my story. Cryptos, oh my God. All right, let's take a peek. Up, up, up. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Bitcoin, look at that. We had a triple bottom here in beginning of the year. And guess where it bounced off of? This is just a humongous range win. 41,420, and now we know 28,600. Okay, you having fun on that? The thing that I still like to play this with Block in Ethereum. Kramer likes Ethereum too, but I just think Ethereum makes more sense to me right now. Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's been on a tear, Bitcoin, but as you can see here, it's falling back below the pivot, which to me is bullish. You want Ethereum to outperform Bitcoin right now. That's what you want to see. Okay. And here's Bitcoin against XRP A2. XRP is starting to get its mojo back, falling back below the pivot. Doji, I don't know about that. I don't know what to tell you about that one. And here we have Silvergate. And we talked about this yesterday, right? Where if you look at like Silvergate, you look at Ma Riot, etc. They held up really well. And this is why I really like being in Block. So this is the blockchain companies, right? And I really like this, and I'll be adding to it, but I won't add to it until we actually break and hold above the pivot extension. So if we can reclaim this level right here and hold it, then I'll add, and that's 48.32.
All right, Beth, I'm ready to come on.
Okay, so let's have some fun.
All right, guys, what's going on? Morning. Let me just pop up the screen share here. There we go. All righty, guys. So if you're new to chat, make sure to click the Discord link that was emailed to you. When you guys do come in, go to the disclaimer section first, and then go to the new to chat information section. Scroll up to the top, read from the top down, and you should be good to go. We'll go over that when I close down the YouTube stream in a little bit more detail this morning. Pre-market tickers on watch. Let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Couple different things. Tesla, GME, CVNA, GSK, XPEV, and then ACHV. Tesla gapping up continuation from last day's move. Same with GME. CVNA, JP Morgan, downgrades Carvana to neutral, announces $325 price target. A little bit of a gap down on that. GSK, GlaxoSmithKline shares are trading higher following a report that suggests the company sees sales growth of more than 5%, adjusted operating profit growth of more than 10%. Stock's gapping up on that. XPEV said to get the nod for $2 billion Hong Kong listing, and then ACHV Achieve Life Science announced allowance of U.S. patent of dosing administration for treatment and prevention of addiction. Stock's gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two we're going to be looking at Tesla and GME. So let's take a look at these. And I'm just going to pop this into this. Unlink. There you go. Alrighty. So Tesla, GME. So obviously Tesla gapping up. Let's see where we got room to today. Let's actually quickly flip it over to the daily. We're above the 50 MA with some nice room to the upside. 636. Okay. Yeah, okay. Let's take a look here. So we've got basically a bear flag reversal pattern that's set up where you're breaking that bear flag range back to the upside. So it's a squeeze pattern. Usually get pretty robust moves off of it. Pivot to the upside is going to be the 50 MA on the daily, 632.84. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation into the 641.74 to the 652.09 level on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 619.45 to 606.44 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leading bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. If that pivot point's able to hold, we should see continuation in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for there. It's a decent looking chart. Let's take a look at GME. A little bit of a bounce off the 50 MA, trying to reclaim short-term EMA support. I was unable to get above it yesterday, but held that downtrend break in the short term, which is constructive. All righty. So let's do this. There we go. Short-term downtrend. Okay. All right, so 226.90. It's actually going to be, I'm going to move it down a little bit. 226.87. 226.87 is going to be your pivot point to the upside today, which is the EMA, short-term EMA reclaim on the daily. This level is able to hold or be reclaimed. Room towards 233.59 to 241.18. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 210.63 to the 201.88 on the downside. Sorry, 221.07 to 210.63, my mistake on the downside. Overall on GME, going to be leaning bullish neutral if we can get above that pivot point. Also got the downtrend there in the short term on the hourly. So big two levels of resistance that we got to get above. If we can, though, we got some room to push. So we were looking for a continuation bullish neutral move to the upside if that level is able to be reclaimed. So watch that level this morning. That's Tesla. That is GME. It's got squeeze potential on GME if it can't get above that level of resistance, in my opinion. All right, let's take a look at the next two, CVNA, GSK. All righty, guys, CVNA, let's take a look. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. All right, 302.76 pivot to the downside today. This level is unable to hold. We got room for continuation lower towards 298.17. That level breaks. Room lower for continuation towards 293.59 on the downside. Able to hold, look for a pushback to 310.63 to 314.93 on the upside. Overall on CVNA, going to be leaning on the bear side today, looking for continuation lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. So that's what we'll be looking for there. So that is CVNA. Let's take a look at GSK. Stock's gapping up nicely here, around 40.88 a share. All right, so 40-40 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 41.10 to 41.65. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 39.80 to 39.33. Sorry, 39.23 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation grind higher if that pivot point's able to hold. So that is CVNA. That is GSK. All right, let's take a look at the next two. Which are XPEV and ACHV. So XPEV, a little bit of a bounce off EMA support yesterday on the retest. Let's see where we got room to today. Let's go back a little bit. Oops, there it is. This actually has quite the amount of room back to the last day's high. Pivot on the upside today, 41.26. Unable to hold, 40.39 to the 39.18 will be tested on the downside. Able to hold, we look for a continuation push on XPEV into the 42.53 to 43.53 on the upside. Overall on XPV, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Looking for a continuation grind back into last day's high, and then we can see if we can break through that level and get continuation. I think it looks pretty good in that regard. All right, let's take a look at ACHV here. All righty, let's take a look. All right, 924 pivots to the upside today. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 10.05 to 10.56. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 853 to 791 on the downside. Overall on ACHV, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a pop topping this morning and then for it to pull back in the afternoon. Just a pattern. So don't think it warrants that big of a move. So I'll be looking for a pop topping. Take advantage of it on the short side. Alrighty, so that's XPEV, that's ACHE. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. So what's going on with the market, guys? I'm going to flip this over to the SPY daily chart as well, just because I like to do this. Speeds this side up. There you go. Oh, there we go. And there we go. All right, so what do we got on the SPY? So SPY yesterday broke back above the head and shoulders on the daily, held above it, closed above it, giving us nice confirmation. Back above EMA support as well in the short term. Back above range support as well. So everything in that regard looks bullish and good. Now, we do have room towards the all-time high area today if we can break back above last day's highs. If we can't, then we're going to have an inside day from yesterday. If we can break this, we should have an outside day and a push back to all-time highs, which is what I'm thinking we get out the gate this morning. But again, we'll see what happens in that regard. 423.25. Where is that resistance? I see. Okay. Those are all fibs. Pivot on the upside today, 424.07. Level breaks, you got room towards 424.84 to 425.42. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on the SPY into the 422.81 to 421.86 on the downside. Overall on the market, going to be leaning bullish. Neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Want to see a reclaim of the pivot, push towards all-time highs. Upper end level is the all-time highs. It's actually 425.26. It's for 425.46, which we can change right now. And there you go. There it is. Alrighty, let's take a look at Apple. It's Apple, great chart. What do we got? Daily downtrend break. Nice little curl. Room for continuation to the upside today. Overall, everything looks bullish in that regard. I mean, it's a good looking chart. Cannot deny that. Kaiser, you asked me to talk about Netflix. I literally go through it every single day at the exact same time, boss. Come on. You know that. 134.53. Pivot to the upside today. This level was able to hold. They got room towards 135.85 to 137.47. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 132.64 to 131.15 Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. So that is Apple. Let's take a look at Amazon. It's Amazon, nice range break setting up to all-time highs. I mean, look at this thing. Consolidation for quite a long time, literally almost a year. We're coming up on a year of consolidation, actually. So this could be a big breakout. It's going to be a monthly breakout, obviously. 315.14 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 350.18 on the upside. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 34.84 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today into that all-time high level, and then we'll see what happens at that point. This bullish looking chart looks good for continuation, yada, yada. Yeah, Amazon, guys, if it breaks that monthly range to the upside, I mean, we're going to expect a big next leg up like we had in, I guess, 2010, or sorry, 2020. Or effectively it doubled. Alrighty, so that's the Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. So what do we got? Got a reclaim of short-term EMA support. It's been consolidating down here for quite some time at the bottom of the range. Similar to actually Netflix in its regard to consolidating since last July in this range. A little bit of a downtrend break in the short-term EMA support reclaim. All that stuff looks good. What are our levels today? Levels today are, let me zoom up a little bit more. There you go. Pivot to the upside today is going to be this 507.09 spot. Levels able to hold. We got room for continuation towards 511.15. Sorry, 511.50 to 515.37. That level breaks. We'll be looking at 521.74. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 503.43 to that 498.93 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today, if that level is able to hold. So that's Netflix. Let's take a screenshot of that. Leaning bullish neutral, looking for continuation higher today. Let's take a look at Facebook. All right, Facebook, guys. So flagging on the daily to the upside, all-time high range break set up here. 338.42 pivot, levels holds, room towards 342.90. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 337, 333.77 on the downside. Leaning bullish neutral on Facebook, looking for continuation higher. That's Facebook. Let's take a look at Netflix. Not Facebook, Netflix, Google. Google. Same as Facebook setup. Range break to all-time highs. Pivot on the upside is going to be that 24.52. Levels able to hold. 24.63 will be tested. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback into the 24.34 on the downside. Overall, leaning bullish neutral, looking for continuation push to the upside today. So that is Google. Last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, IWM. So VIX, a little bit of an extension to the downside on the daily. That is definitely notable. I actually hate that we're seeing that. We get a little bit of a bounce today on it. 1659 pivot, levels able to hold. 1752 will be tested. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback on the VIX into the 1551 on the downside. Overall on the VIX, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today. Not leaning any direction, actually. Just watching it in conjunction with the SPY for direction. I use the VIX to give me a hint in regards to what the SPY is going to do. So that's that. Let's take a look at Google or QQQs. So Qs obviously break out to all-time high. Here's your next fib. So 348.06 holds. We got room towards 352.22. Unable to hold 346.38 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Q is going to be leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today if this level is able to hold. So that is the QQQ. Let's take a look at IWM. Last but not least. So IWM, guys, what's going on here? 50 EMA hold, downtrend being tested right now. Short-term EMA support trying to reclaim. A little bit of a head and shoulders level at the 230.87, which is where we got room to today. If we can hold the pivot, which is 227.90. So 227.90 holds. Room towards the 229.39 resistance level breaks. We got room towards 230.33 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for pullback towards 226.39 on the downside. Overall on IWM, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point's able to hold. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I am going to go ahead and pass over to South Beach while I tape up the pre-market action plan. Then we'll do a quick little recap before the open, and we'll be ready to go. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Okay. Okay, let's see what we're looking at today, guys. Guys and girls. Bond market first. All right, 10 years flat, 148. I think, you know, it's probably going to stay flattish unless something changes real drastically. You have competing forces that would raise rates and lower rates. So I would imagine we might stay in the middle for a little bit. So the high in the range recently, 175, low is probably, I don't know, 135, 140. So we're kind of towards the low. You had Powell speaking yesterday. He was less hawkish than the, you know, Friday and Thursday. It seemed he walked things back a little bit, and so the market point of least resistance is clearly up in that respect. But let's look at the other indicators here. So that's our bond market. Let's look over in Europe. We see unchanged basically in London at 0.78. Germany is 0.02 lower at a minus 3.4. No, minus 1.8, excuse me. Italy's flattish, France, let's see, Japan, it's pretty flat there. So that's that. Okay, so the bond market, pretty calm. Let's put it that way. Let's look at commodities. So we have oil up another buck. That oil has been pretty solidly in a bull camp. I mean, if you look at the chart, it's just, you know, bottom left to upper right since we had that, you know, period. Remember it went negative for a bit? That was crazy, right? So anyway, oil's pretty strong. You got copper up a nickel. So bouncing off the lows. We'll see. You know, the best thing for the market, in my opinion, is all these things to stay in a range, you know, like the middle of the recent range, like copper and oil. Oil's getting a little hot. Bonds, et cetera, et cetera. And looking at the agricultural commodities, you know, some up, some down, but no major moves either way. Currencies, we got the dollar down against North America, up against Japan, flat against China. Decent move off the bottom against the renminbi. So, basically took back about half the move, kind of trading them in the mid-range of since April, I would say, March. And the euro's at 119. So it's been bouncing around. It was pretty stuck there at 121, got hit. Now it's bouncing back a little, but kind of a tightish range. Crypto, that's a big move, right? It broke below 30, got all the loose money out and ripped to the upside. So we got Bitcoin at 34,000, up 1,600. Big move yesterday off the lows. Who knows? I mean, far be it from me to call the shots in this one. I have no position, nor do I intend on taking a position in crypto. And let's look at the foreign markets. Okay. So we got the Ftse up 0.4%, up 0.4 at 30 points, and we have the DAX down 0.3 at 52, down 52 points. And up in Nikkei was flat, China's flat, and Hong Kong was up 1.7%. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so that's that. All right. So we had Powell speak yesterday. Like I said, he was less hawkish than it sounded the first time, but that's the way the market works. You get a little change of verbiage out of the Fed, and the market, basically reacts, violently the first time, and after that, it becomes less and less violent, and that's the way it works with everything in the market. The first time it hears something, the reaction is a lot more. Just a much bigger reaction than the second or third time, and by the fourth or fifth time, there's no reaction. Okay, so that's the way it's always worked. That's the way it'll continue to work. So the Fed spoke. China, the relationship between U.S. and China gets worse by the day, it seems. But that's how it goes, right? Crypto, just violent intraday moves. I don't trade crypto. I generally swing it, and I haven't swung it for a long time. And I think the charts look like crap. Did they make a bottom? Maybe they did. I just don't know. But I'm not involved, and I see no reason to be involved at this point. The charts are still broken. The GBT chart did bounce off the 50-week, hit the 50-week on the nose, and bounced hard off of that number. Will it revisit it? Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, I just don't know. So that's crypto. Oil, very bull, of all the things that we're seeing, I would say oil is in one of the best bull markets, right? Just a monster rally. Okay, and as the world becomes more online, from COVID, I think that that'll continue, it seems, right? So that's oil. The virus. Now, this to me is the biggest risk of the market, all right? We have this Delta variant floating around. And this came out this morning. Israel faces COVID surge as virus circulates even among vaccinated. That is a little bit on the scary side to me, okay? For a lot of reasons. But let's look at it just in terms of stock market, okay? Let's not look at it in terms of all this other stuff, all right, which is a lot more important. But let's just look at it in terms of the stock market. The current base case of the market is COVID is going away or basically doesn't exist, okay? That's the base case. And if that narrative turns out to not be right, this market will get the living crap kicked out of it. Okay, make no mistake. So there you have a base case and something, like peeking its head out from the underground telling you, your base case may be wrong. Now, I have no idea, okay? I am not a doctor. I don't know this stuff any more than any one of you. But you got to be prepared for changes, and you always have to look for things that will change the base case. That's how you make real money. So this may be a game changer. I really don't know, but the truth of the matter is, guys, you got to keep your eye on this, because there's a massive move if this is incorrect. If this assumption, the base case, is incorrect, I can't stress to you enough what will happen, okay? The market will get clobbered. Will it get clobbered like it got clobbered in March? No. Why? Because the first time around, people, run around like their hair's on fire. No different than the Powell example I gave you earlier. Okay, the second time, if it were not to be the base case, it'll be a heavy reaction, but nothing like we got in February and March. So keep that in mind, okay? All right, but just keep your eye on that. I think that statement, and Israel supposedly is one of the poster boys of how to handle COVID, and if they're seeing a surge among vaccinated, it gives me pause, and that's why I'm spending time on it. Okay, so let's move on. I think that's important. Okay, Stick spoke this morning. He's one of the Fed guys, basically saying higher inflation should last not 2 to 3 months, but 6 to 9 months. Okay, does that change the base case of raising rates? I don't know. I don't think so, but we will see. Okay, Shack came out this morning, SHAK, Shake Shack, saying they're going to expand in China. Okay, Teva, I see a couple of you guys talking about it. So they have some new news on some migraine drug. This stock is not a drug story. This stock is a litigation story. Okay, so don't think that news about a drug is going to really move this. Okay, this whole narrative in this company, and the reason it's trading at a PE of 5 or 6 is because they have this axe right above their head, and that axe is the litigation. And we don't know how it's going to play out, but I can assure you that the move in the stock is predicated on how that litigation pans out, not the drug. Okay, so don't get carried away with the drug in this particular case. All right. What else is going on? I saw Home Depot is opening new rental locations. Okay, URI is up this morning after an upgrade, but I would think that they are the most affected by that news, and no one seems to care at the moment, but it's something to keep out of your head, okay? Keep in your head, I should say. DraftKings had a nice move late in the day yesterday. So Ontario is expected to be an early adopter of sports betting. And there was some litigation, some law passed in Canada yesterday about betting on single sports, which was passed. So that's a positive for the gambling stocks, I would say. DraftKings and Penn are the two they mentioned in the research packet this morning. And there's one based in Canada that I find interesting. At a Credit Suisse, the symbol is SCR. I'll write it down in the little thing here. SCR. So they're saying this is the biggest beneficiary of the litigation. And just an observation, I've seen US companies trying to buy companies in Europe who are in the sports betting. It wouldn't shock me if this company became in play. I'm not saying it is in play. I'm not familiar with it. All I know is reiterate the outperform at Credit Suisse for the 50 target, stock's 24, and they had some positive news. And if someone wants to expand into Canada, this may be a good vehicle to do that. Okay, just thinking outside the box a little bit. All right. Morgan Stanley came out this morning and said they want their people back at work, but you will not be allowed in the building without a vaccine. I can see that becoming the narrative for all the companies. Okay, get your damn vaccine, come to work. Okay, and so Morgan is the first one I've seen, big company that I've seen articulate that policy. I know my son got a call yesterday telling him they want him back at work. So I think that is becoming, New York anyway, is becoming very popular. Okay. Glaxo's up this morning. There was a group that thought they would cut the dividend today. And I don't think they did that. So the stock is positive. They had their annual meeting today. So people have been on, I would imagine some guys were short that name coming in, hoping they would cut the dividend, kind of like an AT&T situation. And that did not happen. So that's that. Let's see if there's anything else that I think is interesting. Let's talk about Mr. Market yesterday. See what happened. Go to my book. Okay, so we had the market up, right? Not a whole lot, but it was up. Well, actually not too bad. NASDAQ was up 138, Dow 68. So the groups that led the way was retail, which I was in pretty much all day. FANG stocks, high PE tech, and the vaccine names. On the short side, we had hotels, cruise lines, and airlines. That might be the cruise line and airline weakness may be something to do with that new strain, the Delta strain. I'm thinking maybe guys are just saying, you know what, the first stocks that'll get crushed are those. So let me just reduce my holdings of those names and we'll see what happens from there. I don't want to give up the ghost. The market's too strong. And so let me just get out of these and see what happens next. And so that's kind of the way I think it's playing out. I mean, if you look at the S&P and everything, technically these things just look great. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The market looks great. There's no competition for equities as far as the bond market's concerned. I mean, the only with inflation running above the yield on the bond, and you'd have to be a fool to buy bonds, okay? And no one's that stupid. So, ergo, stocks are the best game in town and continue to be and should continue to be going forward, for a while anyway. Let's look at research quickly. On the short side, we had Plug downgraded to a sell at Barclays, target 27, down to a hold at Adams Harkness, target 31, and that's that. SDC was downgraded to a hold at Loop. This is something I think we may see a lot of, certainly against companies that are not doing so great. SDC, downgrade buy to hold, target 14 to 9, higher costs. So we may see a lot of companies, use that as an excuse. Okay, costs went up because of the inflation, et cetera, and our margins are getting squeezed. So keep that in mind as we get to earnings season. All right, JP Morgan downgraded Carvana because of price. Stock has been an absolute beast, and their target is 235. Okay, they downgraded RPM, cost inflation, similar to what SDC said, but their target is right in line, so it's not actionable in my eyes. Okay, so that's on the short side. Let's look at the long side. What do we have? Now, I saw in a separate research packet that Morgan Stanley was positive on AA with a target of 50, but in what I usually look at, it wasn't there, but something to keep in mind. Telsey, Dana Telsey, who I really like, likes Peloton, target 135. Raymond James is high on HBAN, Huntington Bank shares. They think it got unduly smashed. They have a 18 target, stock's 13.5. They like Scott's Miracle Grow, but the guy's been wrong, and he reduces his target from 300 to 250. Stock's 196, and the stock's been kind of it's had a big move down. Let's put it that way. So this one, who knows? McDonald's, Wells Fargo raises their target to 360 at 268. They say key markets are opening up. URI, which is what I referred to at the Home Depot, it was upgraded by Citibank with a 350 target. That's why I guess the stock is up. What else? JMP Securities, like Peloton, also 135 target. Goldman likes this LPLA, and they like ICE, ICE. I don't know why ICE doesn't make a market in crypto. I think eventually they will. I think this is an interesting stock with fantastic management. Fantastic. I was an original investor in ICE many, many years ago. I obviously sold it too soon, but it was a good hit. Target's 141 at Goldman. These guys are swift. That's all I have to say about them. Microsoft upgraded the target at Wedbush to 325 from 310. The Azure cloud business is just in fuego. That's what they're saying. Okay. Jeffries likes par, target 90 there from 70. They like Carvana, which was downgraded by JP Morgan, and they have a 400 target from 375. Like I said, the stock's a monster. I wouldn't want to short this stock on a bet. Okay, another guy pushing this Olin. Everybody's pushing Olin, okay? I don't think I've ever seen the stock this high. And it looks to me like it's rolling over, but everybody seems to like it. Today it's RBC raising the target to 65, stock's 46, okay? When too many guys are on one side of the boat, you got to be careful, guys. Because the boat will tip, that's for sure. Let's see what else. I mentioned the SCR out of Credit Suisse, right? I thought that was interesting. Argus likes Target, raised the target in Target to 265, stock's 237. KeyBank likes Parker Hannifin. They're in a multi-year earnings cycle, and they like that stock. They have a 350 target, stock's 289. Evercore looked at some of these land drillers. The one they like the most seems to be this HP, equal to outperform, raised target from 23 to 42, and the stock's 33, so that's a good one. That's that. ARK bought another Chinese stock. She continues to buy BEKE. She continues to buy Path. Coin, she bought a truckload of GBTC, 1 million shares of that. She's bought Splunk, which I really like because of that investment. JD Logistics, they bought 500,000 shares. I don't know what JD Logistics is. Does anybody know the symbol on that one? And she keeps selling PSTG. And the last but not least, there's a bunch of two secondaries. Eyes is the one that interests me at $5, Think. But this First Advantage, I used to use this company 20 years ago to do background checks on people. They're finally coming public at $15. This one you can watch. It should be interesting. The other one that's coming, CXM, is not so hot. Anyway, I'm out of time, guys. I'm going to give it back to Spartan, and it's all yours, buddy.
All righty. Thank you, South Beach. Morning, guys. So if you guys are just joining us this morning on the YouTube stream, welcome. Otherwise, let's do a quick little recap of what we talked about this morning. So real quick, guys, pre-market tickers on watch. Here's the pre-market action plan typed up. If you're watching the stream, you can just pause it and read it. There you go. All the charts posted and everything, as well as on the option side, the same thing. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today? Tesla, GME, gapping up a continuation with the market, gapping up continuation from last day's move. CVNA, JP Morgan downgrades Carvana to neutral, announces $325 price target. Stocks gapping down. GSK, GlaxoSmith shares trading higher following a report suggesting the company sees sales growth of 5% and operating profit of more than 10%. XPEV, Xpeng said to get nod for $2 billion Hong Kong listing, and then ACHV basically got a patent for treatment and prevention of addiction, gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two, Tesla and GME. So Tesla, guys, stocks gapping up. 50 MA being tested to the upside on the daily here. Pivot to the upside is going to be that 632.84 levels, able to hold 641.74 to 652.09 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 619.45 to 606.44 on the downside. Overall, on Tesla, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point's able to hold. GME pivot is going to be that 226.92 level, 226.87, my mistake. Levels able to hold, we got room towards the 233.59 to 241.18. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards the 221.07 to 210.63 on the downside. We got a downtrend test on the hourly, EMA support reclaim on the daily that is being tested to the upside, aka that pivot point. If it gets above those, we should get a nice little squeeze. So we'll see what happens. Keep an eye on that level. CVNA and GSK next two. CVNA pivot 302.76, unable to hold. 298.17 to 293.59 will be tested. able to hold, look for pushback to 310.63 to 314.93 on the upside. Overall on CVNA, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for it to come in, retest the pivot, and we'll see what happens after that. GSK 4040 pivot levels able to hold 4110 to the 4166 level will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 3980 to 3923 on the downside. Overall on GSK, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point's able to hold. All right, let's take a look at XPEV. Let's take a look at ACHV. XPEV 4126 pivot levels able to hold. You got room towards 4253 to 4353. Unable to hold 4039 to 3918 will be tested on the downside. Overall on XPEV, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a pivot hold, continuation grind higher back towards last day's high. ACHV 925 pivot level holds towards 1005 to 1056. Unable to hold 853. 791 supports will be tested. Going to be leaning bearish, looking for a pop topping, take the stock short. Let's take a look at the SPY and FANG market, guys, flagging to the upside on the daily. Short-term EMA support reclaim above the head and shoulders. Room higher if we can hold above that pivot or get above that pivot today. 424.07 pivot to the upside today. This level holds. Room higher into the 424.84 resistance breaks. We see the 425.46 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 422.81 support breaks. We see the 421.86 level tested. I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side there, looking for a continuation higher. And if you guys are watching the stream, I do post the SPY levels on Twitter all day long. So you can follow me, Spartan Trading. At Spartan Trading, that is. All right, let's take a look at Apple. Pivot to the upside today is going to be that 134.53 spot. Levels able to hold. 135.85 to 137.47 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for pullback to 131.15 to the 129.32 level on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of Apple, looking for a reclaim the pivot grind higher today. Amazon pivot to the upside today is the 35.14.29 level holds into towards 35.50. Unable to hold 34.84 to 34.55 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Amazon, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push towards the all-time highs if that pivot point's able to stay intact or be reclaimed, sorry, this morning. All right, let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot to the upside today is going to be the 507.09 level. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 511.50 to 515.37. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards the 503.43 to the 498.82 level on the downside. Overall on Netflix, leaning bullish neutral, looking for continuation higher today. Let's take a look at Facebook. Pivot to the upside is going to be the 338.42. Levels able to hold. You got room towards the 342.90. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 333.77 on the downside, leaning bullish on Facebook, looking for continuation higher. All-time high range break set up right here. And then Google pivot to the upside is that 342.52 spot level holds into towards 346, or sorry, 24.63. Unable to hold 24.34 will be tested, leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Last but not least, let's take a look at the VIX, IWMQs, VIX pivot. 1659 level hold, 1752 will be tested, unable to hold 1551. Tad bit extended to the downside on the VIX, so we'll have to watch that. But the VIX does and can get extended to the downside on multiple days without a bounce, so keep that in mind. QQQ, all-time high range breakout setting up from last day's highs, 348.06 reclaims, 350.22 will be tested, unable to hold 346.38. Leaning bullish, looking for continuation there. And then IWM, pivot to the upside today. 227.90, level holds We're towards 229.36, unable to hold 226.39 to 224.33. We got a flag break on the daily setup to the upside, EMA support reclaim. So holds the pivot. We should get a grind higher, in my opinion. So that's what we'll be looking for there. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. We'll see what happens going forward, but otherwise, that's it. That's everything. So thanks for checking us out this pre-market stream, guys. If you have any questions, you can go to spartantrading.com. Otherwise, yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.